Welcome to Malcolm Reed's How to Barbecue Right, a podcast where we talk about barbecue, share recipes, and discuss all things delicious. And now, here's your host, Malcolm and Rochelle Reed.
Hey, welcome back to the How to Barbecue Right podcast. I'm your host, Malcolm Reed, and right across from me, got my lovely wife, Miss Southern Shell. We got Tyler to my left over here running the board, and we're back for another episode. How's everybody doing?
Good.
Did y'all
Another day.
Have a good weekend?
Heck yeah.
No, I know you're going to say no because you had a house full of kids again.
And you
And
left me.
And I was a road warrior. After the podcast last week, me and Mikey jumped in the truck and took off.
Yeah, before we get into all that, real quick, you're doing a rib demo, Cleveland, Mississippi on October 13th. Fundraiser for the local junior league. They're doing a kids' Christmas event. We're helping them raise money for that. It's only $25. It's a rib demo.
Proceeds going to the Junior League of Cleveland, Mississippi.
Yes. I don't think it's just proceeds. I think it's the whole $25.
The whole $25, yeah. I'm doing it just out of the kindness of my heart because I want to go to Cleveland. I've never been. So they've got this big Delta barbecue battle going on. It's an MBN sanctioned contest, and I think it's like ties in 5 contests maybe that are in that kind of Delta area, Delta region of Mississippi.
Are they all in the fall?
No, there's been some of them already.
So some of them are maybe in the spring or
I don't know. I know like Louisville, the pig picking, the Oktoberfest, and I don't know which all ones it is, but I know there's several of them that ties in, and I'm not really sure how you win it. I think it's like a Q. I don't know if it's Q. Is it your highest three scores prelim, not finals, at any MBN category? So it's ribs, whole hog, or pork shoulder. And of those 5, I think you only have to cook 3 of the 5 really to have a shot at winning. They're just going to take the highest prelim scores, and that's who's going to be crowned.
Technically, you only have to cook 3 to qualify.
Well, you better cook all 5 of them. Why not? Throw out a low score if you get one.
So,
who's in the running? Do you have any idea?
I have no idea. Yeah. Mark would know.
Probably
Mark's in the running.
I bet it's hog addiction or either blue collar or either parrot head. Is it parrot head? I think that's, or poker porkers. Maybe that's who it is.
Austin's in the running.
Is he in the running too?
Yeah.
Okay.
Piggy Smalls.
Anyway, that's going to be
So is Cleveland the last of that?
I think
5
it's the
contests?
last.
Okay.
And that's kind of the one where they got this. I think it's a big wrestling belt or something like like professional wrestlers
cool.
have. They get a belt. I think it's like
it's an substantial
$10,000, $15,000. I mean, it's a lick. It's a good lick for cooking some barbecue. So, but if you had been in it, it's too late. But you can still go and see who wins it. I've heard that October or this Cleveland contest. I think it's the Oktoberfest one. Is just a fun contest to go to. It's just and it's not too far from us. It's only like 80 miles from our house.
Yeah, like an hour and a half.
Yeah, it's not that bad a drive. I don't know why it's on October. I guess it's just I'm doing something else that weekend usually. It's the same weekend as the Jack. That's what knocks it out. Because I had asked, Craig Verhagen, the barbecue ninja, is from Cleveland, and I had pinned him down. I was like, man, I got this thing going on. You want to come out there and hang out with us? And we're going to cook ribs and show people, teach people how to cook ribs in their backyard. That's basically what this thing is I'm doing. It's not like going over competition class stuff.
Yeah.
But it's going to be fun. And he was like, man, I'm down. When is it? And I was like, it's Oktoberfest. That big contest. Y'all always do it. And he said, man, that's the Jack. He's going to the Jack. So.
Yeah, I think this Oktoberfest is more than just a barbecue contest. It's a whole festival.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of other things going on, which those are my favorite kind.
Oh, yeah.
Small town festivals.
What's the hotel there that's supposed to be super nice?
The Magnolia, I think.
Is that what it is? It's something like that. We're supposed to be staying there one night, right?
Mm-hmm. And I think you're lighting the grills, doing the lighting of the grill.
The inaugural lighting of the grill.
Yeah, which is kind of cool.
I've never done that before.
But if you're interested, October 13th, you can go to the Cleveland, Mississippi Chamber of Commerce website, and they've got all the information, how to sign up and everything.
Is there still seats available? Have they capped this, or is it like
I
got to kind of have a hard cap?
We'll figure that out.
Figure all that out.
We'll work logistics out off the air.
I'm going to show up and we're going to talk about ribs, and we're going to try to have enough ribs for everybody to try them, and it's going to be a good time. And that's happening on a Friday. The contest is really on Saturday. I'm sure they'll have like some ancillary contest, and Friday night's kind of probably the party night. And then Saturday is a serious contest for the MBN side of things. And I'm sure there'll be some party Saturday night there too. So I was told that if whoever wins usually throws a big party. They end up hanging out at one of the hotels. And it's supposed to be a lot of fun. Sounds just like right down my alley. I'm excited.
So last week, like you were saying, we wrapped the podcast. You jumped in the truck and you were gone.
Me and Mikey went down to, I got invited down to Mossy Oak. They were doing.
What's Mossy Oak?
Mossy Oak is an outdoor brand headquartered in Mississippi, in West Point, Mississippi. If you've ever heard of Bottomland Camo, that's where it came from, Mossy Oak Bottomland. And it's just a famous camo pattern, but they've built an empire.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
They built a hunting, fishing empire, outdoor stuff, right down in Moss Point, Mississippi, which is not far from your alma mater, West Point. Yeah. It's not too far from Mississippi State University in Starkville.
Very close.
They in fact, they're big alums, and most of the guys that I met down there went to Mississippi State, and they have their own golf course. Like Mossy Oak has a golf course down there, and it's like it's the university's golf or their golf teams like headquarters or whatever it is. Yeah. So that's where all those guys, the PGA guys, or what do you call them?
The PGA. Or no, PGM.
PGM,
Professional Golf Management.
Is that what it is? All those guys, that's where they play and practice and all that. And right across the street from it's Old Waverly Golf Course, which is a pretty famous golf course for Mississippi. And it was, man, I got to stay there.
At Old Waverly?
Yeah, Thursday night I got to stay there. Because my buddy that from Mossy Oak asked me if we wanted to spend the night. Because what this was they had a golf tournament during the day, and then they had that night, they had a live fire dinner and auction, and they were raising money it's really cool, for St. Jude and for an organization called Catch a Dream, which is, it's kind of like Make-A-Wish, except it takes, I guess, terminal kids hunting and fishing if they have a desire to do something like that. At least, Make-A-Wish kind of goes in and does other stuff for them.
That stuff.
But they don't do the hunting and fishing stuff. So actually, someone in West Point, I don't think it was from Mossy Oak, but somebody knew this was happening, and they decided to start this whole organization called Catch a Dream. And they had the foresight to say, there's kids out there that want to do stuff like that.
But they work with Make-A-Wish.
Oh yeah, they work with. Yeah, I think they work.
And
they work with St. Jude, and it was it was really, they raised a lot of money. I mean, I'm thinking like well over $100,000 for them. It was crazy.
That's awesome.
But man, they had some cool stuff. I mean, they were auctioning off hunting trips, and they had.
We talked about the dogs last week.
They had. Oh man, I could have got a brand new lab.
Yes, you could have.
A Mossy Oak trained lab too.
Ooh.
How that'd have been a good dog.
Sounds great. Whoever gets that's going to be very lucky.
Yeah, somebody won it. Yeah. In the auction.
So what were they cooking, and how were they cooking it?
So they had chefs from all over there. There's a restaurant, I think it's in Saskatchewan, Canada, called Antler, and the chef
Saskatchewan,
Canada, the chef
really?
there.
How did
I met him? I met him in person for the first time there. His name was Michael. I can't recall his last name. I should have looked it up before
What's the name of the restaurant?
Antler, and he's on my Instagram page. If you can pull up my Instagram page or search for him. So the chef and his buddy from his restaurant came down like several days before. And they actually went out to Mossy Oak's hunting grounds and shot a wild hog and cooked that wild hog there. They had Mossy Oak's barbecue trailer. I mean, it was cool to see an old barbecue trailer. It was all steel and, old school, patinaed up, rusted stuff. And he was putting it to some use and cooked that whole hog. He also brought down like some bison strip loins. And man, I'm going to tell you what, the hog and the strip loins that chef cooked was amazing. Amazing. He kept bringing me and Mikey bites of the whole hog, just trying different parts of the primals. And I was amazed. I've ate some wild boar, but this was probably some of the best wild boar. I don't know if you would have known.
You're not a big fan of wild boar.
I mean, it's usually, I've cooked it.
You haven't been in the past.
Yeah, I've cooked it, and it's not like domestic pork. It's super lean. So, it has a little bit of a gamier taste. I mean, it's okay, but it's really lean. It's really easy to dry out. Doesn't have a lot of fat or intermuscular marbling in it. But this hog, I don't know if it was just the low and slow approach he took or whatever, but the meat itself had a really, really good flavor. And who knows, they may have been feeding it a ton of corn down there. May have been a corn-fed wild hog. They had it pinned up or something.
If you go to their Instagram, Antler Kitchen Bar is their handle, all one word. They have a video, a little reels on how they cook that wild hog.
Oh, really? Do they? Can you see the barbecue trailer and everything? I'll take some pictures with them. You might see a picture of me on there with them.
They just have this video of them cooking the wild hog.
So Chef Michael he's done a lot of, if you go to Mossy Oak's website, or they have like an app where you can watch all their stuff. They have some cooking videos, because part of their things is the Gamekeeper Butcher. And I've done some stuff with Mossy Oak's Gamekeeper Butcher, where they source wild game meat that you can actually buy. And he comes down and cooks some of that stuff. And the kicker with that was, he's like, man, when are you gonna come down and we're gonna cook some stuff together? I said, bet. We are doing that. He wants to. He said come up. Well, he said to come up there too, so he got invited to go to Saskatchewan. They got some big deer up there. That would be really cool.
I'd love to go.
And duck hunting, man, that would be amazing.
Is there good duck hunting?
Yeah, that's where all the ducks live. They just come down this way for the winter. They go back up to Canada. That's like their headquarters, I guess. But yeah, so that was cool. That was just one of the chefs, though. They're
how many total chefs do you think they had?
Man, I'd probably say a dozen or more.
Okay, and everybody had their own little station.
Yeah,
they were
because
doing
you had the guys from Mexican Gulf, who's a big charter fishing outfit out of Venice, Louisiana. They run like 10 big boats down there, so they do a lot of offshore, inshore, everything. I saw that when we went. I saw some of their boats down there, and those guys put some fish on the dock. I'm telling you. And they brought some tuna up, and they were doing like fresh tuna ceviche. That had been in the Gulf like the day before. There was someone doing like they set up this like seafood bar inside, and it was like a old wooden boat, like you think of a wooden John boat, that size boat. They had like one end of the boat full of shrimp. The middle section was the tuna ceviche, and the back end of it was all like fresh shucked oysters. And it was that was amazing.
Was somebody standing there shucking them, or?
They had shucked them that day, because I had asked. I said, "Who shucked all these oysters?" And Craig told me, he's like, "Man, there's a man and woman sit out there and shucked all of them." And then so they took, I don't know how many they brought, but they had these Breeo open fire pits, like you've seen them. It's a fire pit, but you can also cook on it. It's got cooking grates and stuff. That the Breeo people were there, and they had, man, I don't know how many pits they had there, probably 8, maybe, different sizes.
Yeah, 8 Breos.
Yeah, it was a bunch. I don't. That might have been 6. But I think it was 8 though. I think it was like 6 of the 32 inchers, and then they had 2 big giant ones. They were like prototypes of this new biggest pit they've ever built. And so they would take those oysters, and they had them like on the grates, and they were doing the butter sauce all over the top of them, over the fire. I didn't get one of those. I wanted one. It smelled good. There was so much stuff going on, and I was just trying to talk to everybody, and then people would bring you stuff. Like John Kearns was there from City Grocery, Big Bad Breakfast, Bourrée, all those restaurants in Oxford.
Chef,
he was there with his crew, and they were doing lamb gyros, and those were amazing. That's
how was he cooking those over?
Did he
have like a leg of lamb?
No, they were skewered kind of like shawarma. Okay. So I guess it had been marinated and stacked on these spits. And then he had them over the Breos, and I guess they had roasted them some kind of way first, kind of got them par cooked a little, and then was finish them off right over the fire, over one of them fire pits. And Chef John was standing there slicing it off. I got a little bit of video of that. I don't know if Tyler, if y'all have had a chance to go through it yet, but it was pretty cool. And then so he would slice it off, and you know how you cut it like a shawarma, you just cut some of it off, like the charry, good crispy bits.
Yes.
And there's some raw stuff underneath it or whatever, and they put that back on the fire and let it crisp up. That's what they were doing with these. It was like swords of it, kind of that Texas de Brazil style. And that was cool.
And they were serving it off.
They had it was like a street gyro. That's the best way to put it. A little
baby gyro?
Yeah, because it was like a little baby pita.
How do you find little baby pita?
I don't know. I'm sure that somebody sells them, right?
Yeah. Somebody
But they had made up the best tzatziki sauce I'd ever had. And and he was sprinkling it with like sumac flour, which is some kind of edible flour. When I heard sumac, I was like, poison ivy, and I think it's in that family, but it's not.
So it actually looked like a flour?
Yeah, it was like little, you know how dehydrated flowers would look or something like that. That was part of the flavor, but it made it pop. So you had that crispy charry lamb, and you had that, I think he had a little bit of vegetable on there, and then he had some that tzatziki sauce, and then he had that little sumac over it. that was a phenomenal taste because they brought me one of those, and Barbecue Ninja Craig and Victor Knox Matt, they were there, and they did they were doing like street tacos. So he had took some wild boar that they had braised and cooked down, smoked and shredded, and was mixing it with some tallow, beef tallow, to keep, to get a little fat back in it. And then he had made up like a pineapple cilantro lime slaw, and then made a sauce to go in it. So they had street tacos. They did, you've seen the iron crosses where they do like lambs and goats and stuff on a cross.
And just kind of set it beside a fire.
Yeah. So on those big giant Breeo pits, they had rigged those lambs up on those iron crosses and stuck them in those little pits. Have a little slot on the outside edge of them where you can put the cross, stick those things around it, and they just kind of hang off to the side, but they're getting that heat from it. And so they just mopped them, and they had like this mop and big bucket where they were cooking these lambs and slow roasting them.
What size do you think the lambs were?
Man, they were
like
probably 35, 40 pounds.
Like dressed?
Yeah. They're splayed open and kind of wired up on this, like, so I guess it's like not rebar, but something, steel rods. It looks like kind of a cross to hold the shanks out. And so they would take them and put them on there.
Slow roasting process.
Yeah, it kind of is. It kind of is. And so once they cooked them for a little while, they took them off and rested them a little bit. And they had this like herb mop that they were just keeping them doused with to keep them juicy. And then they still had like a little fat layer on the outside edge, I guess where lambs are fat.
Yeah.
The only fat on them. And they would take that and lay it right over the hot, like at the very end, right before they were going to cut it all up. They would take it and put it fat side down. That fat would start dripping on those coals, and they would flip it and kind of crust it really good. And then they just cut all that lamb up and served it like that. I didn't really go into I didn't get any pictures of where they were served because they had a big tent set up where they had all the food set up.
So they were like cooking it outside and taking it in?
Yeah, well, yeah, it was kind of to the side a little.
Yeah.
And there was so many people. But there was 2,000 people there. I don't know how many people there. It was a bunch.
How good did it smell?
Oh, it was amazing. That's why I didn't even go over there with the food because I had tried stuff, just walking around and people handing me stuff. I didn't need to go in there and eat. I was getting it as it was coming off. And they had, I don't know how much salmon they had, like on the half shell.
I saw a lot of
and
salmon in
they
your
cooked.
picture.
Yeah, they were cooking salmon right there. Those Breos have like this. It's like a metal disc that sits on top of the fire pit, and it gives you about probably an 8-inch ledge all the way around it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like a flat top, but you still got access to the center fire, and that's what they cook the salmon and the oysters and stuff like that on.
Those Breos are getting like really popular. I've heard a lot of people talk about them.
I brought one back. Because I was like, what are y'all doing with these, man? Because these two guys, the Breeo guys were from Pennsylvania, and they had been down to the Ace show in Florida or Orlando, and I guess they had to pack all that stuff up and ship it to Mossy Oak. He said they didn't think they were going to get it there in time because they were all down there at Orlando at that other show. And he said, well, we got to stay and pack this stuff up and ship it back. He said, do you want one? And I was like, heck yeah, I'll take one and cook on it. I said, my wife's been wanting the pit because how you're wanting to make that fire pit down at Smokehouse outside. This will be perfect for it. You just need a flat place to set it. So, and I got like 2 cooking grates for it, and I'm supposed to be getting like the little flat top insert thing that sits on top of it. I don't have that yet.
So it's just,
but it's
open fire cooking kind of.
Yeah. It can be a fire pit, or you can cook over it.
Could you cook steaks?
Yeah, definitely.
Could
you could cook anything you cook over fire, you could cook on it.
So would you put charcoal in there or wood?
They were burning wood. Just like a fireplace wood, I'm sure it was hickory or oak or something like that.
How big's the bowl for the one you got?
I think it's 36 inches. It's 32 or 36.
Okay, so it's big.
It's pretty good size.
You can roast marshmallows on it.
Yeah, all day. All the s'mores you want, wieners, whatever you want to roast on it, you can
use it just for a fire pit and stay warm, and then you can actually like cook on it.
Yeah, you can actually cook on it. But they were doing all kinds. They had quail they were doing there, like roasted quail. A lot of lamb. I was shocked by how much lamb it was, but there's a lot of lamb. And we were at this ranch, like it was a working cattle ranch. Like they use horses to work the cattle and everything. It was out in the middle of in the middle of this big, I don't know how many thousands of acres it was in West Point.
That's pretty cool. And then you spent the night there.
We spent the night there. After this event, we went back to that old Waverly golf course and we stayed we had a cottage, but Matt was like, hey, y'all want to go down? We got a trot line tournament going on tomorrow, and we got to go check our bait traps. He said, y'all want to go with me? And this was like, I don't know, 11 o'clock, 11:30 at night. And I was like, yeah, man. And Mikey was like, yeah, we're going to stay and fish in the trot line tournament. I said, man, we got to go to Arkansas tomorrow. So we almost bailed out on Arkansas to fish this trot line tournament. He had done talked it up, and I was, we was ready. And
Did you find out how they did?
I know. I told him to send me some pictures, and I hadn't heard back from him. I got busy and forgot, but I want to go to it next year. Because evidently there's this creek or something that runs through there's pretty good size. And so he drove us down there. And it's like, you know how river houses are, the houses on stilts.
Yeah.
This would have been there since, heck, I don't know. It looked like early 1900s. It looked like an old place, And we went down there and hung out by the river and listened to Matt and Ninja tell lies and had a good old time.
And then the next day,
went back and drank whiskey with Chef John. They were still up at the cottage, so we sat there for a little bit and went to bed and got up and drove back.
Then you went to Arkansas.
Made a pit stop here, loaded up, refueled, and headed to the World Squirrel Cookoff on Friday in Springdale, Arkansas, which is all the way across Arkansas.
That's northern Arkansas.
Yeah, it's kind of northwest Arkansas. It's beautiful up there. I don't think you've ever been, have you?
Not that far.
Man, I guess they're mountains you call them, or Ozarks up there, man. And they've got, it's just rolling big hills, and you're crossing these canyons on, we call them bridges. I forget what they call them. They don't call them bridges. Overpasses. And then I actually went through a mountain tunnel up there. I'd never been through one of those. That was pretty cool.
I've heard it's really nice up there, up in the Bentonville area.
And we got up there, and there's a big motorcycle rally, like a bike fest going on.
Oh, I bet people like to ride bikes up there.
Yeah, oh yeah. There was tons of motorcycles, and then there's a lot of people just for the squirrel contest.
So how did you hear about the squirrel contest or get invited to the squirrel contest?
Our friends at Townsend Supply over in Melbourne, Arkansas, do a contest every year, and we help them sponsor it.
Yeah.
And it's they manufacture spices and seasonings and stuff like that.
Up until this year, we used to go every year and drive around and pass out Bloody Marys. And juice and stuff in the mornings. Yeah, we had another trip planned this year we didn't get to. But anyway, they do that contest for Steaks for Sheepdogs. And Steaks for Sheepdogs is an organization set up to feed police officers and stuff like that. It's kind of like not an OBR, but kind of along those lines. But anyway, Joe Wilson started it. And Joe Wilson started the World Squirrel Cookoff. And I met Joe through Townsend Supply. And Joe asked me, he's like, man, you want to come over to the World Squirrel Cookoff and judge? And I was like, I never really ate that much squirrel, but yes, sign me up. And then I put it on my calendar a year ago, and lo and behold, I went. And it was awesome. I had a blast. It was like a barbecue contest, but all about squirrels. So
who would have known?
How many people entered? Do you know how many teams?
They had 40, but then five of them couldn't get any squirrel because you got to bring your own squirrels. Yeah. This ain't like they're giving you the squirrels. You got to show up with your squirrels. And so I guess 5 teams couldn't get any squirrels.
Do you have a limit on how many squirrels you got to get? I guess
no, but you got to feed 6 judges. I guess you need at least 6 or 3. You could probably get by with 3. Yeah. I mean, I could have got them some squirrels. That's easy.
Do you think there's anybody that, like Wild Game Butchery? Do you think they have squirrels?
No, there's no. I've never seen anybody selling. Squirrels. Yeah, there's no commercial squirrels. Although there's rabbit, so you could do. Yeah. And Joe, he called us on the way, and he's like, all right, I need y'all to put your thinking hats on. This is me and Mikey in the truck now. Mikey about Rex. He's dying because Joe tells us, he's like, all right, here's what I got. I want to say he said 40 FDA approved test rabbits. He said the meat's the byproduct of these rabbits. I don't know what they do with them, but they're clear to eat by the FDA. So he's going to cook those test rabbits, and he needed an idea for a recipe. And then he had 85 pounds of iguanas.
Where did he get the iguanas?
Down in Florida. Somebody shot them with pellet rifles. And so he had a big cooler full of skinned iguanas. And then he had 100-pound Asian jumping carp, like one fish. It was just one big fish. And it was huge.
I
And then he
can't
had
imagine 100-pound fish.
And so he told me all this because his alligators fell through. He had a buddy in Florida that was supposed to be sending him 2 like 12-foot alligators, and he was going to cook those. Well, something happened. The guy couldn't get the alligators or couldn't send them. And that's how he ended up with the iguanas and the test bunnies and the, and the 100-pound Asian carp.
I can't get you an alligator, but I got 12 rabbits. And
then he began to tell me that the Arkansas Department of Wildlife and Fish had confiscated an alligator from somebody's house. I guess it was a pet. Maybe you can't have those in Arkansas. I don't know. Like I'm imagining somebody's got this alligator in an aquarium. That's took. It's probably what Joe said. He didn't say confiscate. I think he said took. They took it from somebody's house.
My gosh, there's
and he said, but it's still alive, so we got to dispatch it, skin it, and then we're going to cook it too. And so all of this happened. Mikey couldn't believe it. He was like, this ain't true. This guy's blowing smoke. He'd never met Joe. I was like, no, I guarantee you Joe's a straight shooter. He's funny as he can be, but he ain't lying. He ain't lying.
He might exaggerate a little
bit.
Yeah,
he's pretty straight up. And so we get over there, and I guess it's about 9 in the morning. The team starts showing up. I think it's 6, they said. But me and Mikey didn't roll into about 9 and started walking around. And all of them is just like a barbecue contest. Everybody's got pop-up tents.
You bring your own stuff.
Bring their own grills. I saw a lot of like air fryers or the pressure cooker type fryers or deep fryers.
Yeah.
Some people had grills, but there was I saw the way they had it split up. There was like 2 tables in the judging, and there was 6 judges on each table. So you had to cook. Each entry had to cook for 6 judges and make 6 boxes. It was the same box, but you had to do it 6 times. And so as a judge, you got your own. And so what they did, they took those 35 teams and split them between the 2 tables. So I was on a table that had 17 entries.
Wow. So you had to try 17?
17 different squirrel dishes. And I'm thinking, we're going to see a ton of like fried squirrel and gravy or squirrel and dumplings or something traditional, like we would cook. No, man. It was like the very first entry I have. I took pictures of all 17 of the ones I did, so we could probably. Well, I think you shared some of them already.
Yeah.
But the very first one I had, they had taken a pineapple, like a half a pineapple, and cored it out some, and they had made this like almost like a General Tso's squirrel dish, chicken, but it was squirrel. It was like in this kind of sweet and spicy Asian sauce. It had some peppers in it, and the squirrel was kind of cut up. You would never known it was squirrel. It was tender. It was delicious. And then they did like a Thai fried rice because they had to do a squirrel dish and a side dish to go with it. And then you had to judge them on how well they were both judged individually, but you had to judge them on how they paired together. And you were supposed to use squirrel in both.
Oh, but they had to pair together.
Yeah, and they were supposed so you couldn't do like chili and I don't know, spaghetti.
Yeah.
You couldn't do 2 things like that. Although spaghetti's a side dish in Mississippi. I don't know if it is anywhere else. Spaghetti goes with anything. But
you couldn't do an Asian and a
that wouldn't tie, but you could do a fried rice and that Asian squirrel or that kind of that squirrel, or you could do I saw a squirrel wonton, I saw squirrel egg rolls, I had squirrel pizza, I had squirrel tamales.
How was the squirrel pizza?
Really, really good. The only problem I had with that dish, it was awesome, the pizza itself, but they had served it in their to-go box, the blind box. Mm-hmm. It was full of like peanuts and pretzels and candy corn. I guess stuff to make you think a squirrel would eat. It was all on bottom. Well, they laid a big piece of pizza like right in the middle of the box. And when you tried to pick it up, all that stuff stuck all over it. I was like, man, I don't want to eat these peanuts and candy corn. Yeah. And so I kind of got my fork and knife and got me some of it out and scraped that stuff off. And the pizza itself was awesome. I scored that one pretty well.
You just had
I didn't gig them too hard on the fact that all that stuff was stuck to it. But.
So you hadn't told me about the iguana and the.
That was all going on while I was judging. So.
And the test rabbits.
So Mark Lambert was there. He judged with me, but he was the one that cooked all the test rabbits. Imagine that.
They come like
I don't know.
Skinned?
Yeah, I imagine they were skinned.
Okay.
The man that brought the rabbits judged on my table too. So I guess he gets a lot of test rabbits.
Yeah.
What do you think they're doing? Like dropping stuff in their eyes and stuff, or seeing
I
what
don't
different?
really want to think about it, to be honest.
no,
with
that's
you.
perfume.
Spraying them with like Axe body
I
spray.
really don't want to think about it.
Seeing, I'd like to think they were just really good tasting bunnies. And I don't know, Joe might have stretched that. Maybe they weren't test rabbits. Maybe they were just farm raised rabbits for meat. But everybody loved them.
They fried the iguana. I did
They
see
deep
that.
fried the iguana whole.
Because I looked it
Yeah,
up.
it was-
Yeah.
I didn't get to taste any of that stuff because I was inside eating squirrel, so I missed out. But I heard the Asian carp fish. They made fish tacos with it, and they fried it. And Mikey tried all of it. He said, "Man, that fish was good." He said, "People are missing out because we got a problem. These are invasive species now. Those fish,
Carp.
they have taken over the river." And they're the fish that, if you see when boats run through, they jump out and they can hit you in the air.
Mm-hmm.
And there's guys that shoot them with bows and try to catch them and stuff. But there's nobody tries to fish for them because it's a junk fish. But people think that. You don't think to eat them. But, man, they said they were really good. It was a real white flesh fish.
Even though it was 100 pounds.
Even though it was 100 pounds, they said it was
So
good.
did they cut it into
Now, that's a
big
big one.
nuggets?
I guess that's what they did. Yeah, they just chopped it up, cut it up into
battered
pieces,
and
and
fried
fried it.
And made tacos
Yeah.
with it?
Yep.
I
made
think
fish
the
tacos.
iguana, they were shredding it up and putting it in some sort of jambalaya.
A gumbo. Maybe because I
gumbo.
think they did make a big
Gumbo.
pot. They call it stew or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
They did that, and what Lambert did was a rabbit fricassee. It was kind of like rabbit and gravy, big pot, and that might have been they might have added that iguana to the rabbit pot. I don't know. I heard the iguana was kind of fishy tasting.
I can see that.
Yeah, so I don't know about eating iguana. I mean, I'd try it, but it wouldn't be my first choice. I've tried gator. I mean, how different can it be than gator? And gator's like that if you don't get all the fat off of it. It has a really, fishy type, swampy flavor, dirty flavor.
They also had other things going on. They had like a squirrel skinning contest.
I got to see the video of it because once again I was inside and all that was going on. But they had who could skin a squirrel the fastest, and they did it like in rounds. So they had some squirrels. Now they were dispatched, but you got a squirrel, and if you needed whatever knife you needed, you brought, and they raced to see who could get the hide off and clean the entrails out of it as fast as they could.
And then
them jokers had it down. I'm talking about under a minute. I mean, it was rocking and rolling.
So then, like, once you passed
So
this
you basically
round,
raced somebody, and then you moved on to the next round, and then you raced to, and all the ones that made it to that first round did it second time, and third round they crowned a champion.
and then they had the world's hottest squirrel eating contest.
That one, oh my God, I feel sorry for those guys.
See, I saw that video.
When we got there, Joe said, "I got this lava sauce." So the reason why they did this is because last year, like everybody that was in the hot squirrel eating contest finished the squirrel, and it wasn't no problem.
Yeah, it wasn't as hot.
And so Joe said, I contacted his buddy. I think he said Missouri, Kansas City, maybe somewhere like that.
Yeah.
That grows these insanely hot, different varieties of peppers. And he made this, what he called lava sauce. And it
was thick.
ungodly. The guy said he couldn't even hardly stir it. And he was there and he was like, "Oh, that's killing me." I mean, it looked like, Mikey will try just about anything hot. He said he wouldn't touch that stuff.
He could smell it.
But so what they did, they had these whole squirrels cooked. And I don't know how they cooked them. I don't think they were fried.
I think they
boiled.
Yeah.
It looked like it had been boiled.
They might have been
boiled
pressure
squirrel.
cooked or something, but
And then they took them and dumped them in that sauce, and they had them in a to-go box, and then poured more of that sauce on it, and had these giant peppers in there with it, and you had to eat the whole squirrel. That was the thing.
to me, just the squirrel eating contest is enough.
Yeah, just nothing. Yeah, no sauce. You put ketchup
Eat a
on it.
squirrel.
Whatever.
Eat a whole
Eat a
squirrel.
Let's see you can eat a squirrel the fastest. Well, you had to eat it with that hot lava sauce on it. And these guys were like slinging that. Mikey said they were eating it, and they were just like getting all over them and slinging it all over the crowd and just trying to eat this stuff. And the guy that was like, there was one entry, I think there were 6 people. They had 6 squirrels they were going to do this for. So they took 6 volunteers, whoever signed up, first 6. And the guy, there was one guy that was talking so much trash about how he could eat anything hot and all that. Mikey said he was the first one that tapped out. It was like, it wasn't long at all. And then
How it usually goes.
Yeah. And so it got down to maybe 2. One person clearly won it, but they all lost. There was, I mean, it's for real. These guys like were crying. I mean, grown men, tough squirrel eating men was crying and just couldn't stop burning. And they didn't have, all they had there was some water for them. They didn't have milk or anything that you'd see. I mean, I felt sorry for, I bet you they're still hurting today. And here we are 4 or 5 days from it. This was Saturday and we're sitting here. I mean, it was nuts. There's no way I'd have done that.
No, I'm not down for hot challenges.
No, I've done my one there.
I'll try squirrel. I'll try iguana. I'll try stuff, but
so squirrel is fantastic protein. It is.
How would you describe?
Dark meat chicken.
Dark meat chicken.
I mean, it's a little.
Dark meat chicken.
I mean, yeah, you really would. You would really like it the way. I mean, some of these ways I had it. So I will say this, Shell. I did not see any recipe cards where anybody used anything with squirrel and mayonnaise.
Nothing.
So if you could come up with the squirrel recipe using blue plate mayonnaise,
Squirrel salad.
What? So what are you thinking? So blue plate, like chicken salad, but with squirrel?
Yeah.
Huh.
You said it was like dark meat chicken.
Yeah, but I don't know.
Let me think.
So what if you did? Okay, here's one for you. Alabama white or Mississippi white sauce, blue plate mayo on squirrel.
Yeah.
I bet white sauce, mayo, blue plate based would go great on a squirrel. I'm gonna have to talk to Joe about this and see what he thinks. He gave me a hard time about cream cheese.
Why?
And blue plate too. He's like, you can't cook without blue cheese and cream. Or no, he said all your recipes on TikTok's got blue plate or cream cheese in it, don't it? Ain't that the big ones? And I was like, well, people like simple stuff, Joe, and blue plate's the best. So. Anyway, it was cool.
What? He has a problem with mayonnaise?
No. He loves mayonnaise. I'm sure he loves blue plate.
Call him up.
He just thought I would appreciate if some entries had cream cheese. And believe it or not, so a lot of them did have cream cheese in it.
I bet they did.
So they probably had some blue plate in some of them, don't you think?
You know why? Because people love cream cheese.
Well, let me tell you about the best recipe I had. This one was actually the first place winner. They had taken a squirrel quarter. So it kind of had its leg and thigh. That's kind of the way this was. And however, I don't know how they cooked it. It was as tender and juicy the meat was.
So it was on the bone still?
It was on the bone still, on the bone. And they called it a steak. I want to say steak Roxanne or something. I'd have to go back and look at my pick. But it said not to be confused with steak Diane. No self-respecting hillbilly would use cognac in anything or even drink it. We use bourbon. And so there was like a bourbon kind of cream sauce that was spiced up. And so you had this perfectly cooked squirrel quarter with that sauce over it. And they did a Minnesota mushroom wild rice. And that was, I guess.
What makes it a Minnesota mushroom?
Minnesota wild rice, I guess is what it was. The mushrooms were in it. Or I don't know, maybe the mushrooms came from Minnesota. That's what it said on the card. I was a little, I mean, I like the Vikings, so I was okay with that. And they also did squirrel mincemeat pie, and it was like a little hand pie,
like a folded
grandma
over.
would make. Yeah, like a little kind of fritter pie, fried pie,
like a mini calzone.
Yeah, basically. But it was glazed with their local. I think these guys were from Kentucky, which kind of when I found that out, I was like, why the Minnesota tie in? But anyway. They had glazed it with the honey and vanilla bean glaze over this little pie. So was it a sweet pie? So it was sweet, but when you tasted it, it was savory, and it just blended. So with the tenderness of the squirrel, perfectly cooked, and that sauce and the rice that went with it and that bite, it blowed you away. And they had decorated their box with like oak leaves, and it was like you could tell it was to the tens.
Yeah. It
was really, really good. And that was the consensus entry out of all 17 that we had. Everybody at my table had, we knew that was going to be the one that, because once you tried it, and then we were kind of, you get through, you got this whole box of stuff, and so you just take a bite, you got to try 17 of them. You can't eat it all, and so we pass it on. They would let you take it with you if you wanted to, but I was like, Mikey, try this, and then other people was passing you stuff from the other table to try this if it was really good. And so the whole judging thing was really, really ran really good.
I noticed some of the pictures you showed me, like they could actually decorate the inside of their box.
Yeah.
They would list out exactly what the name of it was, and
you had to put in. That was a pretty cool thing too.
Rules like that.
They had the rule. There was you could garnish with anything you wanted. You had to give an index card with what your squirrel dish was and what your side dish was, because it could be anything. And so it felt like if you wouldn't know if somebody turned in something,
Yeah.
a tamale. I mean, you could probably guess it was a tamale, but they'd really need to explain what they did. And that was pretty cool. So, I mean, I don't know if there was I think there was a lot of maybe chefs and stuff out there cooking, but this was some serious competitors.
It was a serious redneck event.
Yeah, it was a serious redneck event. Yeah, they even had their own squirrel beer there. Like one of the local breweries had bottled up some. It's called Squirrel Brawl.
How was it?
I didn't get to try it. I was trying not to mess my palate. I mean, I didn't need any beer that day. Yeah, I didn't need any beer that day. I'd had some the day before.
And the day before.
And the day before. Yeah, 3 days. No bueno.
But would you go back?
Yeah, absolutely. I hope they're not the same weekends. That was the hard part. Like we were on the road. I mean, it was
pretty much the whole weekend was traveling.
We spent a lot of time in the truck. But,
and you kind of double backed. You went one direction, then you went the other direction.
Yeah. But it was a good time, man. We didn't have no issues. All the stuff we tried was good. To go to a contest like that where it's something totally different, I mean, it was fun. And getting to judge it, I mean, also, so one of the MeatEater guys that has a podcast, he's Clay Newcomb. He does one called Bear Grease, and he hunts. He's a big bear hunter over in Arkansas, but he hunts a lot with Steve Ranella from MeatEater, and he's part of that whole MeatEater crew. He was there, and he did his podcast. He does after he does a podcast, he'll do what he calls the render. Yeah. Which is when you sit down and you just talk about your podcast or whatever, get in more depth, basically. And I got asked to sit in with those guys on it. So they had this, America's best small game hunter was there. I guess he's world-renowned squirrel hunter, small game hunter. He was there. A guy named Brent Reeves was there. He's another one of the MeatEater guys that does another podcast with them. And then, of course, Joe sat in on it. And there was another guy that had an Ozark podcast. I can't remember his name. But so I got to sit in with them on that.
Has that
talk
aired
squirrels.
Yet?
I don't know, but it was cool. It was cool to talk with those guys. And I mean,
what y'all talk? Did you talk about cooking squirrels or eating squirrels or
all of it? We talked about squirrel dogs. The one guy that showed, I think what was his name? It was Ken Murphy or something like that. He brought his squirrel dog with him, and the dog was in the podcast, and the whole time it's running around, jumping up on Joe and on the couch where they're sitting. And, I mean, it was cool. I had a blast. I really did. I had a blast over there in Springdale. That's one, and it was at like one of their state. It's almost, I wouldn't say a museum, but they had a lot of stuff, kind of science or nature displays and animals and stuff on the inside of it. So you think about the Natural Science and History Museum down in Jackson on a little bit smaller scale, but they're all about quail habitat. So they had some live quail there that they were trying to work on the grounds there. I guess I don't know how many acres they had, but they're working on quail habitat. So all that stuff was interesting. Just
so you know, I did find a website that sells squirrel meat. You can
buy
one squirrel for $99.
No way. I'm the wrong dude. That is good to know. Well, $100 a squirrel? What kind of squirrels are these?
This one's funny to me. You can either get whole squirrel oven ready or whole squirrel in fur.
How much is a fur squirrel?
That one's unavailable. They don't have the prices.
I can get them something. I gotta put Michael to work.
You get a box of BBs for what, like $10?
Yeah. Oh, they had a pellet rifle. They had a squirrel shooting contest there. They had like a little range set up, and they had these pellet rifles where they were, having a competition so who could shoot the best. So that was pretty cool. They had some pack goats there. These monster goats. Have you ever seen a 250-pound goat?
I don't even believe that's real.
Yes, it was. I saw it with my own eyes.
That's like a bear.
I think Mikey got a video of it. We were standing there, and the guy was talking about it, and the goats were like on this, tethered to this cable. And so I said, let's go over and look at this joker's big right here. And so they got these packs on them. And what they use them for is like if they're going on hunting trips up in the hills or the mountains, they take wounded warriors hunting and stuff like that or different things. And they use these goats to haul their stuff. They got these like saddle bag things they hang on them and then pack them down, and the goats go up the mountain with them. So But this one,
I've seen them do like donkeys and llamas.
I've seen
like
them use alpacas.
Yeah, alpacas.
I've seen them use donkeys and things like that. But who knew goats? I mean,
I think I have seen them use
goats would clear the trail for you. Them truckers will eat anything. As me and Mikey were standing there, I was more interested in the goat than the dude talking. There was this like box where they had brought their tent and stuff on the ground. I said, "Watch this! That goat's finna eat that box." And he picked it up, and that goat just went to town eating their box up. Before dude could get over there, he done ate about half the box. I was like, he'll eat that cable. They'll eat anything.
They will eat anything. So you had a crazy busy week.
I had a good time. I didn't cook anything last weekend.
Yeah.
Actually, when I got back home, I meal prepped me some chicken.
That was the only thing you cooked.
That was the only thing I cooked. Yeah.
But tomorrow, we're filming and cooking tomorrow.
Yeah, we got a couple of videos we're going to knock out tomorrow at Smokehouse. I'm excited because Mark has told me he's got this new wing recipe, and he calls it a sushi wing. And it's not going to be a raw wing, I promise you.
Yeah.
I wouldn't touch it. But that
is kind of misleading.
I think he's taking the flavors you would associate with like a sushi roll and doing it with a hot wing. And he won. The first time he did it in a contest, and he won with it. So he's like, "You got to try this. You got to try this wing. It's awesome." So he's going to make that wing for me, and I'm going to, he's show me how to bake it. And then we're going to do kind of like we did that brisket video that me and him did a month or so ago, where we just sit down and sit and talk, almost podcast style, where we talk about cooking ribs.
Yeah, all the
and then we're going to cook. I think me and him just kicked it around. I think we're going to cook ribs 3 ways.
What?
We're going to do, well, I mean, just kind of it's going to be a dry rib, a wet rib, and then like a savory TXE style rib.
Okay.
Yeah. And I mean, it's going to be super simple. I mean, it's not like it's basics of ribs. So, I mean,
are you cooking them on different?
No, we'll probably cook. It's only 3 slabs. We'll cook on the same pit.
Oh, okay. You're just doing 3 slabs, 3 different
ways. Yeah.
ways.
We're just, you want sauce one, one of them just going to get seasoned and cooked and probably not even wrapped. And you can tell the difference in them. Like when you're cooking ribs, I mean, if you want them super tender and all that, we wrap them up. But if you just want them perfect, like a good savory eating rib, you don't have to wrap them. It's easy. So that's kind of, what I'm going for in that video. And it'll take it several weeks to go through production on it, Tyler.
Yeah. Something like that.
That one won't release very soon, but the wing one I hope to get out here in a week or so. But we should have a rib video coming out, but they're totally different. I don't know if everybody out there's seen it, but it's been a thing on like some TikToks or shorts, where people were doing ribs, but they would cut them up into individual bones and cook them. And that was new to me. I've never done it because I assumed they would dry out and
they basically essentially grill them instead of smoke them.
That's right. It's all you're doing, really. It's pretty much fat speed cooking some individual bones or ribs. And I used the baby back ribs, and I'm gonna tell you, phenomenal.
They were really good.
They were really good. It's great for a party.
So walk me through the steps
of cooking a party rib. So first, I
like how you call them party ribs too, because they are party ribs.
Yeah, it's a party rib. So I did baby back ribs. Just take them out of the pack, jerk the membrane off the back, cut them into individual bones. And I did this with my deep fried rib too, the same way. Cut them up into individual bones, and you end up with 12, 13 bones out of a full rack. So, and then season them, whatever you want. I used hot rub all on the outside, every side of them. And then the cook them, I used the Weber with my charcoal vortex. And y'all seen me use it for wings or for other things. It's a way of indirect high heat cooking.
Yeah.
Because you're not directly over the coals, but that the vortex gets the air moving and the heat generated in your grill so much that it's, good radiant heat that they'll cook stuff pretty quick. And we're talking hour and 45 minutes, these ribs are done. And so all I did was like spread them out around the outside edges of the vortex. Every, 15 minutes, I'd kind of move the lid a little bit to where the vent would be just pointed in a different direction to let.
Is that important when you're cooking with a vortex?
I don't know how important. I always do it. It kind of keeps me on my toes for time.
Yeah.
Just to watch things.
And you do need to watch things.
And it makes sense that however the air is coming up into the dome of the Weber from the vortex or whatever grill you're cooking on, if your vent stays in the same spot, it's going to kind of draw to that side. So whenever you move it, it's kind of equalizing that all the ribs get some of that direct kind of pull heat out of it.
Would that create your hot spot?
I would say that would probably be the hottest spot wherever your vent is.
Okay.
And so those would have cooked probably way too fast if I'd have left it just in that same position. So that's my thinking on it. And, you know, I've never tested it. That's just a theory, but I would say it makes sense. It makes sense to me.
It's got to draw.
Yeah, it's got to draw, and that's where the heat would draw to the most. But the main thing is you've got that radiant dome action throwing the heat down on everything that's out towards the edges of the grill. And 2 slabs of baby backs fit perfect on there.
It really did.
Like I probably couldn't have got another. I mean, you know, you might have could have finagled them, but it was perfect. I was skeptical.
You couldn't have got another
first.
slab.
No, there's no way you could have got another slab. But it worked out, and I flipped them. You know, I can't remember if I flipped them every 15 minutes
every 30.
or every 30 minutes. I just let them roll. Flipped them over, let them roll. So about an hour mark, I started looking at them, and it took an hour and a half, and they were pretty much where I wanted them.
Which was?
Temp-wise. They were right around 200 degrees internal, and I was probing them. And then I threw together a sauce, and so since I was kind of called them party ribs, I was like, what if I did like just kind of a little Asian-y inspired? I was thinking
that's your favorite.
Yeah, well, I was thinking
One of them,
Asians, my own version of an Asian zing from Buffalo Wild Wings.
Yeah,
that's kind of what I went for. So I took some brown sugar, I took some sriracha, I took some rice wine vinegar, some hoisin, which is kind of like a Asian barbecue sauce, pretty much. Some soy sauce. I put some ginger in there and some cayenne or red pepper flakes and a little green onion. Simple. And started up, didn't heat the sauce up or nothing, just mixed it up with a fork really, really well, just to kind of, the sugar kind of dissolves in it, you know. And then
the heat gets
and then I painted it on each rib bone, let it go about 5-6 minutes, flipped them over, did the same thing to the backside, and they're glazed all over. It's not like a super heavy.
Really
good. Man, they're beautiful. And then it was like, okay, let's try them. Let's see how these are. And I was expecting them to be a lot tougher, or, you know, because you cut this rib and all the juice is going to escape from it.
Yeah.
Man, they were juicy. They were tender. I mean, they weren't as tender as a slab of ribs that you slow smoke.
No,
they were perfectly tender. They were way tenderer than a chicken wing, I thought. And it had, man, the flavor. You got that grill flavor from being close to the coals but not directly over them. It was really good.
And you got that little fat. The fat on the rib got crispy, so you got that texture, and you don't get that when you're smoking a whole slab.
It kind of reminded me, like, if you've seen basket of ribs on an appetizer menu at a sports bar.
Yeah,
that's what it reminded me of, something like that, a rib basket ribs or something. I think party ribs is pretty accurate.
I thought they were delicious. And you could have used any sauce. You could have used barbecue.
Oh yeah, that would be really good to do several different sauces. You could do buffalo style. I bet that'd be really good.
You could do them just like wings, like cook them and then toss them in sauce.
Yeah.
The end.
I like glazing it on because it kind of gets charry. But I tell you which one would be really good is that firecracker wing sauce or firecracker chicken sauce I do on those ribs would be dynamite.
It's kind of like a sweet vinegary.
Yeah, that's all it is.
Spicy.
It's like vinegar, brown sugar, and red pepper. There's nothing to it. It's one of the simplest sauces I've ever made. And it's really, because it's sticky and sweet. 5 ingredients, yeah. But it makes a really good glaze. But you could do anything with it. I don't know, I was craving the little Asian zing that day.
That's a really good appetizer football food.
It is, yep.
But after you eat 2-3 of those, it'll fill you up.
It really would. So you're talking about 2 slabs, like, would feed, I would say, 10 people probably.
Yeah.
If you got a party for 10, I'd serve that. And then if you threw in some wings to go with it, because that made sense to me, because you could do the wings and ribs. You might have to reload your vortex with a little coal, but it wouldn't take no time to, to get the grate, move it, and put some more coals in there, let it get hot again, and put your wings on, and they'll cook in about 35 minutes. So you got some really good food.
Yeah, throw some dips in the mix.
Some dips. You're good to go.
What do you think of them, Tyler?
I thought they were really good. That was like the first time I broke my diet for any food, and it was well worth it.
Yeah.
Super good.
Don't tell Ashley.
It was hard to.
Yep.
It was hard to stop eating though.
Yeah.
I was hungry and they were there, and I was like.
Well, I'm looking forward to these Mark's wings tomorrow.
Do you think they're going to be as good as?
Mark and Cook. Yeah, that's one thing. Mark and Cook. Shout out to them, man. They went up to Murfreesboro last weekend and won $1,000.
I completely forgot about that.
Yeah.
Heck yeah, that's a huge deal. They won grand with the rib, right?
They won first place hog by a long shot, and they won first place ribs, and they granded with the rib when they got to finals with it.
And that's a huge contest,
Oh, yeah.
big contest.
Big
so.
time. They got several of the blown glass apples. They got the big carved hog. And it's really 2 years in a row because, you know, they went up there the year before as Team Outlaw and won it that year too. So they're killing it.
Well, next week we will not be.
Unfortunately, we're going to have to miss a week on the podcast.
Yeah, we will be in Houston. Right?
No, Dallas.
I get my text.
We're going to Vid Summit, which is a YouTube creators conference. And Tyler could probably tell you more about it than I. Me and him went last year.
Yeah, so it's kind of the idea that YouTubers can share knowledge and information with each other. So there's tons of different like seminars and different things like that we're going to go try to learn, like innovating
better videos,
innovating the channel. Yeah, and like, you know, changing things up and things that are the current trends and things like that. So
who are you most excited about seeing?
I don't know, man. Like all the ones last year were people that I didn't know who they were. Like people I'd never heard of as the people I learned the most knowledge from.
That's what I told Shell. What was the Patty guy's name?
Patty Galloway.
He impressed me sitting in on his talk. It was really interesting.
Yeah,
Mr. Beast is cool.
Yeah, Mr. Beast will be there.
He's Mr. YouTube.
Yeah.
The best part of that whole conference to me is that you can literally, like, I was sitting in a chair next to a guy and we were talking for a while. You could just be sitting there talking to a guy. And I think something came up. He was like, "What's your channel name?" And I was like, "Oh, I work for HowToBBQRight." And he was like, "Oh, cool." I was like, "What's your channel?" He was like, "Oh, I have a Minecraft channel. I have 17 million subscribers." I was like,
17 million.
Definitely.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, we're super small potatoes at this place. Like irrelevant. Oh, you only have 1.7 million?
But everybody's there for the same purpose, and it's a cool conference. So looking forward to it.
But that'll take us.
We're going to eat at
next
what
week.
restaurant are we going to eat at? The Ranch. That's what I'm excited about. You got reservations for us at this place. They have a feast. This is why I'm excited. Did you see it, Tyler? It's like, what's it called? Y'all need to look that up real quick. It's the, not Steak Lovers Feast, but maybe it's the Rancher's Feast or something. I want you to look it up.
I'm pulling it up right
now. I'm
now.
ordering this. We're probably all going to share it, but
while she pulls that up, the favorite thing I saw on this menu was they had like a cowboy Wagyu ribeye or something like that.
Yeah.
Served with like a bone marrow butter, I think, or something like that on it.
Are you getting it?
I don't know. I don't know if I could do all that. I might have to share that with some.
So it's a cowboy feast.
Cowboy Feast.
33 ounce. They're calling it a Wagyu tomahawk ribeye. A bar in. What's A bar in?
I don't know.
Okay, 33 ounce
That's the ranch
Wagyu
it came from?
tomahawk.
Is that the ranch it came from?
Possibly.
Yeah.
33 ounce tomahawk ribeye Wagyu. 8 ounce roasted garlic stuffed filet.
Keep on.
A 12 ounce Angus charbroiled strip.
That's what I'm talking.
Pork belly burn-ins.
Getting me excited, Shell.
Mesquite grilled Gulf shrimp.
Yes.
And then you
Surf and turf.
yeah. And then you get 4 sides.
Man, so this is meant to feed the table.
Yes.
Yeah, we're getting that, Tyler.
That sounds
We're
We're going to make a TikTok. We're going to make a video before we go in, tell them what we're going to go get, then we're going to go in and have them service that, and we're going to gnaw on the bone.
Do you want me to tell you the price tag?
What is it, $500?
$274.
No way, that's it?
Wow.
That's a steal.
I say Memphis Barbecue Company's big feast is like 200.
You get all that
Really?
for $275? Does it like the Big Texan? If you can eat it, you get it free?
There's no disclaimer on that.
Okay.
There's no way you could eat all that.
No,
for
there's
one
no
person.
way. You'd have to leave me in Dallas for a month.
That's just what's 33 plus 8 plus 12.
8 and 12 is 20 and 33. That's 53, right?
So that's just 53 ounces of
Oh, you can do 53
beef.
ounces, right?
Plus your pork belly burn-ins, plus your Gulf shrimp.
Yeah.
And some of that's bone because
And 4 sides.
Yeah, some of that's bone.
You know,
Some of
do
it is. You do have a tomahawk.
I've done an 8-pound burrito before. I could do that.
Have you really had an 8-pound burrito?
Yeah,
The whole thing?
the whole thing.
How sick were you?
It was really sick. It was disgusting. Like I don't know if you've ever ate as much as you can feel when you try to swallow. Like you can feel the food at the top of your throat. Like it's nothing more can go down.
That's
Yeah,
what you were? You're
yeah.
forcing its burrito down?
I did it. I was like 14. It was great.
I don't understand. I
don't know.
understand these challenges.
I think between the 5 of us, we could be able to tackle the Cowboy Feast.
I think we could.
They have a smashed Wahilo lime potatoes. That's interesting.
Yeah. It's going to be spicy and peppery smashed potatoes.
Zesty.
Yeah.
So we're going to feast it up next week.
One night, I got to try that Cowboy Feast. You can't go somewhere that's got something like that on the menu and not try it.
Well, Mal, that's all I have for you.
All right. Well, hey, we didn't get to any questions or anything from the community, so we'll do that next time. But we won't be here next week.
Yes.
So it'll be 2 weeks, and we'll be back with a podcast.
Yep.
Oh, and unfortunately, I won't be on Rimpy this week, but I think Mark's going to take my spot. So y'all tune in to the Barbecue Central show Tuesday night. It's my normal segment time, and I think Mark's got it, or Greg's going to line it up with Mark to come on there. They're probably going to talk about hog cooking Murfreesboro or something like that, see what else is going on. But that'll be cool.
He's been tearing it up with that rib.
Yeah, man, the rib and the hog.
Yeah.
Been doing really good. So, Tyler, you want to tell them about the community?
Yeah, so if you guys want to join a like-minded community of awesome people, make sure y'all head on over to facebook.com/group/H2Q community, where you can join up, you can share pictures, you can share recipes, you can comment on other people's stuff, and you can ask us questions that we answer on the podcast, usually on a weekly basis. This week we kind of got a little long-winded, so take it off.
If you'd like to connect with Malcolm, it's HowToBBQRight on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and of course YouTube. If you'd like to connect with me, it's Miss Southern Shell on Instagram.
All right. Well, we will be back in 2 weeks. Appreciate y'all hanging out with us today. We gone.